I am Josh Galindo. I've built several successful businesses utilizing the one tool everybody has, the mind. I am here to guide, coach, and prepare you. We will debate, discuss, and grow our minds together so you can obtain your own success. Fuck average, be legendary. This is my podcast. All right, hit me. What do you got, Dan? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to introduce people to who you are if they don't know you. They knew you from the Going Galindo podcast, but that's more of like a family-friendly kind of approach. I want people that look to you for guidance. I want them to know who you are. And yesterday, I'm kind of describing what I'm doing with my brother. And I'm like, we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk about his Mexico story. And he's like, what Mexico story? I'm like, when he got kidnapped in the middle of the night by two grown men. And he's like, Josh got kidnapped? And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't even know Josh's story and you've known him since you were in seventh grade?
Right.
So then I'm starting to show him like that path, and I'm like, wow, like I know you've told that story before, but the fact that my brother didn't know, I thought it'd be good to maybe tell it again to maybe a new audience to kind of show like your roots as a human. Sure.
Well, I think what I'm hearing you say is let's just get out some of the here's the big thing, because I think it was what you were trying to describe earlier, is you're not trying to bash other people. We're just describing why we feel that our content is
well, people gravitate towards you.
Good. Yeah, it's good.
There's a reason.
Right. Well, and the reason is because it's what I have inside. It's not about what I have on the outside. Because there's lots of people that have lots of nice things that other humans don't attract to them on a deeper level. They may just admire the things they have, but they don't admire them.
When did this all start? How did you go from troubled guy with no real guidance? Like, what put you on the right path? And for me, I believe that would be your strong mentality aligned in Mexico created Josh Galindo today.
Yes. So my mom got married at 17. She had a very difficult childhood, and it wasn't necessarily abuse there's maybe some version of that, but her dad had cancer for 16 years.
Damn.
The guy that survived. So every day he was dying for 16 years. So I'm sure the torment and turmoil that created in her household led her to wanting to get out sooner, which is why she chose to marry so young. So she marries at 17. Has my sister, I believe, at 20, and me at 22 and a half. And then my dad takes off. My dad was a very interesting character from what I know about him. Hardworking guy, incredibly talented, athletically speaking. Actually, when I met him, I don't know if I ever told you this, but he showed me his Letterman jacket.
Still wearing it?
Did I tell you that?
No.
He was that guy. Yeah, he had it. I mean, this one, though, was worth having, bro. When he pulled it out, it rang. Clink, 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 clink. And then when I put it on, clink, clink, clink. Dude, the whole jacket was covered in medals. That's from winning. Awesome. Every inch. It was like a 100-pound jacket. It was crazy. Anyway, so he was very gifted in the athletic space, physical athletic space.
So he did give you something.
No, I never. Oh, yes, my athleticism.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And my mom was too. So I got pretty lucky with that. That served me so well. I think it's such a important thing, to be able to carry yourself on the field and amongst your peers and everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, Danny, we got to jump over this fence, and Danny can do it. Go ahead.
I always say you need to be in good enough shape that if like two pit bulls are attacking you, like you need to be able to run from them, climb a wall, or just straight up fight them.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
Like, you got to be in that kind of shape.
You got to have some level, some ability to protect yourself. And I think it shows up in so many ways. I think you just walking down the street, you can see that person can defend themselves or that person cannot, just the way they walk.
Absolutely.
And anyway, so, okay. So my mom and my dad both gave me that very special gift. But so dad never had to learn how to read. Never had to learn how to do numbers. He was dyslexic and all kinds of fucked up shit anyway, but he never had to this is a good way of life, is whatever your strengths are, people capitalize on. You capitalize on it and then use that to overcome any of your weaknesses. So my dad knew he was incredibly athletic. So he's like, I'll just run harder. I'll be better at, he was a track star, at all the different categories of track and field. And they won't require me to actually get good grades. Okay. So they just pushed him through school. So that was my dad. So then my dad goes into a masonry space, and he's probably one of the hardest laborers I've ever witnessed work. And this was him at, his older years. I can only imagine how hard he fucking worked when he was young on a physical laborer level. Anyway, so I think he had all the life's challenges. Long story short, him and my mom didn't work, and he left. So he left my sister and I when she was 3 and I was 1. And so my mom took us in the middle of the night, because he was kind of a crazy guy, and took us to some random apartment. And that was how my dad left. So now you got to think, ages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You kind of can figure it out, but you start kind of processing at about 8, where you're like, where's my dad screaming for me on the sideline?
Yeah.
Where's my dad teaching me how to tie a tie? Where's the guy that slaps me in the back of the head pretty hard?
Yeah.
You start yearning for that discipline, that masculine energy around you. And then you start not only yearning for it, but once you start yearning for it, you start realizing it's just not there. So I didn't have that at that age. And as you start to yearn for it, then you start comparing yourself to other people. Why does this guy have a dad? And then as you get older, the brain just naturally starts to fill in the blanks, because there's a wonder moment. Where's my dad? Why? What happened? Well, unfortunately, it's probably more common that your brain fills it in with something negative than something positive. So then I started creating self-limiting beliefs. And my biggest one was that just worth. I felt that the fact that my dad left was a direct result of my worthiness. What a crazy thought, right?
It's wild.
And that's how the problem with self-limiting beliefs is that you establish them. You can call it 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, whatever the age is, because of an event. And then the problem is that it gets packed down in the back of your brain, and then you start creating habits around the belief system. And the event happened 30 years ago, but you're still operating under the terms of the of the event as if it's still happening. That's the craziest part about self-limiting beliefs. So dad left when I was 3, but I was still processing and acting and taking the negative belief system that created and applying it to my daily life, from the second I realized it happened until I was 16. So long story short, I was running with the wrong crowd. It's easy to say I was a bad kid. I was a bad kid. I basically was so far behind in school that there was no shot of getting caught up. And then getting into relationships with women, and girls. I'm 16. Let's call it what it is. And just being kind of a playboy. I'm dating this girl, but then I would cheat on her, and then this girl would think I'm exclusive. There's a lot of, and what it was just a complete lack of integrity. So I run away for 2 weeks. I run away over 2 weeks. 5 days here, come home for a day. My mom's devastated. And then I run away again because I feel guilty and all the other shit. So finally I come home, and she is just in tears, and she hugs me at the door. And I remember not hugging her back. And just like, as I looked back, because I looked back at this day.
Yeah.
In the most vivid detail ever, because I had nothing but time when I was in Mexico. So I walk through the courtyard. She opens the door. She's in tears. She hugs me. I don't hug her back. I feel Dolce, her little dog, on my right leg. And I'm just cold. And I'm cold because I don't want to feel, because of the actions that I had been taking were hurting people. So if I felt, then I would feel the pain too. So I had to be numb. So I was numb. I go upstairs. My girlfriend, Natasha, at the time comes over, and I walk by my mom's room. Don't say anything to her. Go downstairs, see her out in the car, talk to her for out in the street, talk to her for 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. I don't know what she was doing. Maybe bringing something over for me. Gave her a kiss, left, and then it's about 10:30, 11, and I'm sitting in my bedroom on this chair, and my mom walks down the hallway and just walks into the room, gives me a hug, and I hear her whimper a little bit. And again, if I processed that emotion, I think I would have experienced a lot of pain. So I was cold to it, but I was also very confused by it. I'm like, why is she so emotional? Why is she so lovey-dovey when she should be wanting to whoop my fucking ass?
Yeah.
So I go to bed, and I wake up to two men, one holding my right arm with both arms and one holding my left arm with both arms. And I remember the fear that was flying through my body and adrenaline, like, what the fuck? Like, half it was, am I dreaming? Am I awake? And as they held me and got me to come to and calm down, they were like, hey, they were really candid. Hey, we're taking you to school in Mexico, or this school, for 2 months, and you need to get dressed. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, where am I? And then, there was a little bit of resistance in me, and they immediately, with energy, you need to get dressed. And I was like, okay, I'll get dressed.
Did you ever put 2 and 2, mom's emotion?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. And you got to be understanding of how I'm describing it. Great question. But you got to be like, 3 a.m, I'm asleep. 3:03, I'm being told to get ready, and these two guys are bullying me into getting dressed. And then 3:00, now I've got a new batch of information. I'm going away, and now I've got a new batch of information. I'm going away for X amount of time. And then I'm not even. What's funny, Danny? Great question. I'm not even wondering where my mom is. I'm just listening to these guys. So I'm thinking, I don't know what I was processing. They were just like, get in the car. You're going away. For a short amount of time. And I'm like, well, do I need this? They're like, you don't need that. They just kept stripping me of anything that I needed. Do I need my watch? You don't need your watch. You don't need your chain. You need shoes, pants, and a jacket. And so they say, sit down on the bed. So I sit down on the bed, and they're like, you need to wear these. And they just toss them at me. I'm like, what the fuck? These are knee braces. So they put me in knee braces, and I'm still kind of like not all there. I can't even really recollect this in extreme vivid detail, but they put me in these knee braces. Long story short, I somehow am willing to put them on. And today it's kind of hard to put myself in that place, but I was a fucking 16-year-old punk kid that had just woken up that has these two extremely dominant figures telling me to do X, Y, Z. And what else am I going to do? I fucking did it. So they walk me down the hallway. I don't remember the stairs. All I remember is having to back my ass into the car, back seat of the car, using my...
Because of the braces?
Yeah, because of the braces, because I couldn't sit straight.
Because of the speed your father gave you?
Yeah. Coming to find out that was what that was about, is that they give my mom a checklist. Is your son aggressive? Is he angry? Is he depressed? Is he going to kill himself? Is he going to jump off the roof? Can he run fast? Do we need to worry about him running away? And so you check all the boxes. And so one of the things was bring the knee braces, and that way it'd take me a long ass time to unwrap the knee braces to run. But I never even thought about it. I mean, I just sat in the back, and you kind of come to a place where you just know it's over.
Yeah.
It's kind of like probably like we just watched Andrew Tate's video walking out. Well, why didn't Andrew run? Why didn't he jump over the fence?
It came to.
You
got to pay the piper.
You got to pay the piper, and that's where I was at with it. I just knew I was fucking up. I knew the running away had to be painful for my mom. Something that I found really interesting after the whole experience, and even to this day, and as a parent today, and you've got to relate with me on this because you're so close to my children, is think how much strength that took for my mom to go, mental strength, to admit I am unable to raise my own child.
Yeah.
I am unable to raise my own child. And the whole my entire sphere of influence, social circle has to know that.
That
it had to be tough. It's a big pill to swallow. You know, I failed. I failed at parenting. The one thing that it was supposed to come to me naturally, supposed to come to me instinctually, I 100% failed at it.
Yeah.
And that's where my kid's at, because I failed. So I had a lot of respect for my mom to be willing to swallow that pill. A lot of parents aren't willing to swallow that pill and aren't willing to go and get help. And then the problem child is exasperated. The problems are exasperated. They're just, they balloon to a point where you can't control it anymore.
You're in jail when you're 25.
Right. Yeah. And that was because the parent and it's not a knock on the parent. They may not have had the wherewithal or the understanding that there's help out there, you know, so they just keep muscling through this the way that they know how. And then that's the result. But I can't speak on that. I can only speak on myself. So my mom had the ability to do that. So these guys throw me in the back of this car and they drive to McCarran Airport. They throw me a pack of cigarettes and say, have a cigarette. And I'm just like, great. You know, I smoked at the time. So I was like, cool. So I just start smoking fucking tons of cigarettes. Long story short, on that topic, I became an escort later in my life and learned that that was a tactic. So
an escort as an escort of children.
Of children.
Okay.
Yeah, I went and pulled maybe 10, 15 kids out of their beds.
Escort. I'm like, what are you, gigolo?
Nah, no gigolo. Nah, I probably pulled 10 or 15 kids out of their beds in the middle of the night as I graduated the program, and you know, it actually paid very well. That was why. It was like $1,000 per kid.
I remember.
Yeah. Did you ever help me?
No, you would leave every weekend.
Okay. Yeah. I remember I had when it was a tough kid, I'd solicit a friend or something like that and say I'd give him some money. Anyway, so
you're smoking cigarettes.
Smoking cigarettes in the back of the car. Get me to McCarran Airport. I walk through the airport wobbling. I get onto the airplane. A lot of this is still a fog even to this day. I get on the airplane. Remember, they put me on the window seat intentionally. Everybody's looking at me on the airplane like, this is fucking weird. And they fly me to San Diego. We get out. Again, this is very vague. I don't know how we went from the plane to a rental car, but we did. And then I'm back to the car. And then I remember driving. I'd never been deep into Mexico. Like, I'd understood a version of Tijuana, but never truly Mexico. So in my brain, Mexico's like, you know, dirt roads and donkeys and light posts that are lit with a fucking candle, you know? Like, I didn't understand that it was a totally civilized country. So I'm driving through and I'm like, holy fuck, this is Mexico. Like, this is not what I was thinking. And I started asking him questions because I'm like, I'm in fucking Mexico, like 2 hours after at 4 in the morning now, 5:30 in the morning.
Any
now.
plan of escaping?
Oh man,
out.
Yeah, it was gone. It was gone. And what they kept selling me to keep me calm was that I was there for a short period of time. And I remember there was some round of bad kids that we had interacted with that I was like, it's probably better if I'm just not there for if things cool off. So I kept hanging my hat on that in my own mind. So we roll up to these big doors. There's big orange doors. The paint was orange. These big wooden orange doors are probably 17 to 18 feet tall. Could fit a bus through it. And two Hispanic gentlemen, Mexican gentlemen, jump out, unlock the door, and we drive into the gates. And then I just start seeing lines of kids all wearing uniforms. And I'm like, fuck. I'm in Ensenada, Mexico. And I still didn't quite process it. But so I go to, I got to I tap into my ability to start connecting with people and trying to be friends with people and see if I can swagger my way through this problem. And I'm like, hey, can I use the restroom? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. Because I was still just being put in. And obviously I just got there, so they were compassionate to that. And so they call on the radio in Spanish, come grab this kid. He needs to go to the restroom. So this guy walks through the door, grabs me with another older kid in a uniform, but nobody's talking to me. One, the guy that worked there didn't speak English. And two, the kid, once you learn the system, you're not allowed to talk to new kids. So it was like I was just taken by these two people that wouldn't talk, and they're like, come with me. And then we crossed through the courtyard, and they open the key. They use a key to open a door. I'm like, why is there so many fucking keys to open doors?
They want to keep you in there.
Yeah. I'm like, now I'm starting to process that this is a lockdown facility. I'm like, fuck. So I walk in, And then I'm in the long hallway as an easy representation, and there's glass everywhere. You could basically see everywhere from any vantage point, and that was intentional. And I could see into the classroom, and I'm like, fuck, there's a lot of kids here. I'm like, that's a lot of bodies. And then I walk into the bathroom to the right, and I go to the bathroom. I get back out. I'm washing my hands, and I look to the kid next to me, and I'm like, well, I might as well start making friends because I don't know what else to do. And I go, hey, what is this place? And he looks at me, and he won't even respond because you couldn't talk to the new kids without permission. So I'm like, fuck. I'm like,
but he looked at you.
Oh, he would, dude. Yeah, it was like you and I, right? Hey, what the fuck are we here for?
What did he say with his eyes?
I can't talk to you. I don't know if I was able to recall that, in vivid detail to this day, but this kid looked at me and looked away. And I'm like, I'm in a fucking heap of shit. Okay, so I get back. Now they go, okay, you're here. And we need to go get you checked in. So they take me upstairs, they sit me down, and they're like, we got to shave your head. And I'm like, what? But now I'm like in a very big space. What ends up happening, people think I'm going to be tough and fucking fight through it. You are now you're out of control. Control has left you, and you know that control has left you. And you have, your best option is to abide. So I remember they sit me down, they shave my head, and then give me a uniform. And now I'm starting to because I'm like, I can live without my hair. Now a uniform. And I was starting to get agitated. I was starting to have to tap into my next tier of resources, which is just anger, because it's worked for me in the past. But I'm not there yet, but I'm feeling it. And then this guy walks up, his name's Miguel. And I go, how long am I here for? And he goes, on average, it's 16 months.
Now they're honest.
Right. Well, the workers there hit you with the reality. The escorts are feeding you la-la land so that you don't panic.
Yeah.
I'm like, anybody can absorb a month, 2 months. But when this guy said 16 months, I lost it. And I was like, fuck you. Fuck this place. Fuck everybody. My mom does not. This is how delusional I was as a kid. Like, my mom didn't know that's how long it was going to take for me to get out of there. 16 months. I'm like, she didn't fucking sign up for this. No fucking way. Get her on the phone. We're like, fuck you. We're not getting her on the phone. So I start going erratic. Get her on the phone. This isn't what she signed up for. You guys are fucking delusional. I don't even know what I was saying. I was probably talking like a little gangster. I'm trying to be tough. So then they could see that my energy has escalated to a point where I'm going to probably become physical with somebody. So they get on the radio. Código Rojo, Arturo, Código Rojo, Arturo, Código Rojo. Arturo, code red. This fucking 7-foot big motherfucker comes walking in the room, doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge me, nothing. Fucking grabs me by the back of my shirt. I don't even know what he grabbed me by, but he grabbed me from the back of my body, slams me down on the ground, grabs me, pulls my head up, slams my fucking chin on it, grabs my legs, pulls them behind me, and fucking holds me in a position like this until I'm calmed down. And okay, some kids respond to that with more aggression. Dude, I was humbled so quickly.
Oh, when you feel man strength?
Yeah. When I felt man strength on me, dude, I was like, okay, sorry. Okay, I need to be more diplomatic about this because that ain't working. That didn't work.
Well, you're intelligent.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's what that stems from. And I was arguably this pretty soft kid. But so I sat in that position, I believe, until for some amount of time, but enough time to calm me down. But then they came in and they explained to me, okay, now you're in what we call RR, which is R&R. That's their rest and relaxation room. Well, what is included in rest and relaxation is that in order to get out now, because I was just there to be put into the system in this room. But because I acted out, now I qualify for R&R. And R&R is that you've got to do the domino or the piece of paper thing for 4 hours. And then you get to go to worksheets.
And the piece of paper thing.
The piece of paper, which is holding the paper or the domino on the wall with your nose or your forehead, which really it's a combination because over time your nose would it really starts to hurt. So you kind of just do this.
What if you dropped it?
You have to start over.
So if you're at 3 hours and 58 minutes.
Yeah, and there to be realistic, you could say, hey, can I take a 3-minute break? But it had to be conscious. It wasn't, dude, they were fucking extreme over there. If you that's a very mild tactic. If you had a fever and you were totally following the rules, they'd fucking throw you in a shower and turn the cold water on. And if you resisted, they'd fucking stand in front of the shower door. And you just sit there and be peddled with like freezing ass cold water.
Break a fever.
It broke a fever. What were some other things? Some kids would say, I'm not going to eat. Fuck you. I'll just self-inflict. And I remember hearing this fucking relatively heavy kid. I saw him go up the circle. Remember I was telling you about the glass? So you could see him going up to the third floor, which everything was on the third floor because then if the kid tried to run, the facility had time to come to the staircase to prevent you from getting down. They wouldn't obviously do it on the first floor because now you can get out quickly. So everything that bad happened on the third floor. Well, this whole building was built out of concrete. So I hear through the grapevine rumors that the new kid just won't eat, and that's why he hasn't been introduced into his family yet. So after R&R, then worksheets, you go into your family, which my family was called the Noble family. And going back to the universe, even to this day, it just seems to always want to be good to me. And I think that at that age, it was my mom manifesting that goodness into my life, because I actually thought my mom said, which one is the best family? I want my son in that one. Nope, just by chance I got put there. And coincidentally, it was the best family. So I started to learn about like how the universe is taking care of me around that time. But so back to this kid that wouldn't eat and hadn't got introduced into his family. I hear them fighting. I hear this guy Jason and this kid screaming back and forth, and all you can hear is mumbling because I'm in the classroom and they're up on the third floor because this was a hotel. To give you kind of some perspective of what the layout was like, and then you just hear. So you can assume what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I see the kid coming down and he's bleeding.
Oh shit.
Sure enough, they shipped that kid off to fucking High Impact, which High Impact was if the tactics in the school weren't working, which was the domino, the worksheets, the fitness, all the other things.
Arturo.
The Arturo. Yeah. They'd send you to High Impact. And High Impact, I'll just go through it briefly because I want to get back into what the point of the program was. But so if you're like, fuck you, 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 and they keep trying to do all this stuff where they'll slam you because that kid got slammed.
Yeah.
I'm sure he got back up, which is how they got into a fight. He probably swung on him. And then the other guy, you're in Mexico. You got to remember this. One, you signed up 48% of your parental rights to the school, and you're in Mexico. Like the people that ran this place, they'd square up.
Yeah.
Like, you hit me, let's go, dude. And they'd fucking pop you. And I knew that kid got popped by this crazy motherfucker named Jason, because his nose was all blown up. So that kid goes to High Impact. High Impact basically is tucked up way in the top hills of Ensenada, Mexico.
Oh, so you leave the facility.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I thought it was in the facility.
No. So you never actually got to see what it looked like. You just heard the stories. And when the kids came back, dude, this kid was probably 130 pounds overweight. You know, or whatever weight he was probably 100 pounds overweight, minimum. This kid came back skinnier than me in like 3 weeks. Like, shedded the weight overnight. And what the system is over there is you get there and you've got this horse track, for example, a visual horse track, and you're assigned 5,000 laps. You go, here you go, welcome to High Impact. That's where you sleep, underneath that fucking gazebo. Here's a blanket, and I don't even think you get a pillow. Here's a cup for water. And every night you eat rice and chicken. And my understanding is that the kids would come back and they'd tell us that they were so hungry that they would crack the bones and suck the marrow out and all kinds of crazy shit. And so if you stood in, so you got like 5,000 laps. So you'd wake up at 6 a.m. and you'd start walking your laps. If you wanted to get out of there quickly, you'd run your laps. If you wanted to get out of there moderately quick, you'd walk and run your laps. You jog your laps. You get the point.
It's how you lose 100 pounds in 3 weeks.
Right. So and then if you looked at a line, you got like 150 laps. Like, it was extreme discipline. And there was nowhere to go. If you wanted to run, you were just going to run out in the middle of the forest, like out in the middle of whatever. I don't even know what it was. Again, I didn't know. So anyway, they would come back and you would see these kids' feet. They were black, the toenails, black, long, hair, long, facial hair, long, skinny as a rail. And they did that on purpose. They wouldn't let these kids get cleaned up. They would bring them back right through the main doors. I could see those doors now, and put them right in the family.
That sends a message.
Sent a message to the whole family that I don't want to go to High Impact. So levels 1 through, so you get there, and it's a results-based program, which is where I learned about results, and that your results are the only thing that the universe rewards. So levels 1, 2, and 3, you're on extreme discipline. So level 1, you can't talk without permission. You can't get up without permission. You can't go to the bathroom without permission. If you do have the opportunity to talk, you've got to talk in threes. No hair, no watch, no belt, no shoes. And then every day during breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can't talk during breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they would have motivational speakers speaking over the loudspeaker. So Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, all these really inspirational guys. And every day for the 16 months that I was there, that was a part of level 1. That never left, but that was level 1. And then what you'd have to do is you had reflections every single night. And then so every day you'd have group. So group, you would sit down and you would go around and you would give feedback to your peers. And your peers
feedback about them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then you would get it too. And then there would be times where you'd have a love circle or a pepper feed. I don't remember all the terms we had, but you create all these crazy terms, when it's just so funny how that life works. It's a very interesting world. It's very jail-like environment. And
but that teaches you how, I guess, to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
It did. You had to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They called them program jargon, but the terms were very, very advanced terms. You have to get uncomfortable. You got to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And so when it became my turn, I had to go around the room and find something that wasn't working for every single person in the circle. Now, if that was interpreted as unauthentic, then they would call me fake. And fake was the worst thing you could be called in the school. Because a lot of kids they would fake. They'd look around and they would just parrot, thinking that would be the way that they would get out.
Yeah.
So which is a natural approach. They go, if I just act like Josh today, then I'll get out. Well, that's where I learned, and actually just saying it right now is where the first time I just learned it. And that's where I learned that communicating with energy is so powerful, because you could spot a fake. And then if you spot a fake, you got called a fake. And if you got called a fake, then you could even lose some levels. That means, no. And your peers would just describe it. Your peers would give you the feedback. It was all peer based.
Yeah.
There was no teacher that came in and goes, Danny, looks like you're doing very well. Okay, no. You'd have to look at the 29 other kids in your family and get voted up. So now you started to learn to politic. You started to learn to connect emotionally. You started to learn to speak appropriately. You started to learn how, because you're a fucking shithead in society. You got to think about that.
Yeah.
You went from like there's like normal people that learn normal social skills to being a complete shithead in society where you think this erratic bad behavior is going to benefit you. Then you get put into a room where the only way you get to leave this facility is that these 29 people actually connect with you and like you. So you learned a lot of life skills.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one of the most valuable ones was the fact that we couldn't talk without permission taught me how to communicate non-verbally. So you could that's how we can exchange energy. And so we would literally communicate with energy.
Well, and when you spoke, it sounds like you didn't have a lot of time to elaborate what you were trying to get across.
Yeah, no, you're right. Fuck, man. You're triggering so many thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I haven't talked about it so long. You're right. If you heed and hummed or like, well, you see, yeah. They didn't like that. They would stop you and you'd have to start over, or they would skip you and then you'd have to wait to come all the way back around and you could try again. And you only got an hour. If you didn't get to give the feedback that you felt was appropriate to each person, if you didn't communicate it well to each person, if they felt that they didn't receive your message well, then you had to do it again and bang on that same person until that person would go, okay. So you learned to take criticism very well. You learned immediately that you aren't perfect under any circumstances. You learned to critique people in a way that hopefully they can receive it well. So that was level 1. Okay, so level 1, that's what you did every day. And then reflections, at the end of the night, you had to write about the 3 tapes that you listened to throughout the day. And reflections were top of the page, bottom of the page, left, right, front, and back. And then you turned it in every night. And it wasn't within the lines, or within the margins. It was the whole piece of paper. And that's where I learned so then they require you to start writing it in cursive. Well, the way that you start writing in cursive is that they force you to take a calligraphy class if you don't know cursive. So you start with the calligraphy class, then you pass the calligraphy class, then they require you to write in cursive.
They're not reading this, right?
Now that I think about it, probably not. They never read it.
It's just another thing that
it's just
you
another
have to
thing.
do.
Yeah. Well, what's happening is that your conscious mind gets out of the way about halfway through the page. Then your subconscious mind clicks in. And you got to think, dude, like think if you took a 14 to a 17 and a half year old kid right now, stuck them in a facility and played Anthony Robbins every day for 16 months. Dude, how powerful is that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that like,
right?
Should do that in the office,
right? You know what I'm saying? Like all those tricks in your brain and how to overcome this and how to push through this and how to be I mean, there's just so many tricks that you learn that at 16, and that was one of the things that when I got out of Mexico, I felt like a freak because I was so incredibly conscious of my thoughts. Like I know that I'm at this party with Danny and I'm feeling extremely insecure because I look different than everybody else and I'm feeling weak and I'm feeling vulnerable and I'm feeling shy and all of that. I understood.
Yeah.
I didn't just get to show up and have this interesting feeling that if I drank would go away. It was like, no, I'm really keen on why I'm feeling this. And I felt like a freak. I was like, dude, at 17 and a half years old, anyway. So the way the program worked is that you had levels 1, 2, and 3. And then at level 3, obviously you were still a lower level. 4, 5, and 6, you were an upper level. So in order to go from each level, you had to be voted on amongst your peers. And then, so level 1 to get to level 2, that was a vote from your family. And then from level 2 to level 3, that was a vote from the upper levels. So then the upper levels all of a sudden are starting to watch this kid who's moving up into the program and he's showing up on their radar. Now that's pretty difficult to do. I don't have control of my schedule. I don't have control of when I can talk. I don't have control of anything. So, but I'm in their presence at a random time, but they vote on me to move up to level 3 because there's a lot of responsibility. Level 3, I got to wear a watch. I got to wear a belt. I didn't get shoes yet. And the biggest thing that they held with you, that was a big motivator, is you got to connect with your mom more. So I got to write 1 letter a week until I got to level 4.
Did she write back?
Yes. Okay. And I got 1 letter a week.
Got it.
So you got to think, for 7 days, dude, like it's just you and your thoughts.
Yeah.
It really kind of was. You got to interact with your friends, but only during PE. And I think it was after reflections, I think you got to talk. And then group. But group was like just a gangster ass therapy session, So anyway, the motivation to talk to my mom was incredible. And I remember the first time, actually, I'll just tap into this. Level 4, I got to see my mom, and I hadn't seen her for 6.5 months. And that's how long it took me to get to level 4. And they tell me that so level 4 was fucking 6.5 months of my life, Danny.
Yeah.
All that had to happen was that Danny didn't like me, and he took a stick and sharpened it and put it in my bin. And then they would think that I'm creating a weapon and drop me to level 0.
Ugh.
And then I'd have to start all over again. Okay. Thankfully, you got a little clout in the facility, so you can move through the system a little bit quicker. But
yeah,
I'd have to rebuild all of my trust because of the whole facility that I've lost all my trust because I did something bad. So my mom is waiting for me in the lobby. They call me. They go, "Hey, Josh, we found something in your basket." I'm like, what the, not true for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know this. So they trick me. Okay. They're trying to surprise me, which is fair. They're trying to have fun with it. But
you're like,
yeah, but no, to me, I'm like, no, oh my God, I'm going to fucking go back to level 1. So they're walking me to the main space, which is where Jade, my friend Jade, and Jason, the administrator's office was. And they open the door and my heart's pounding that I'm almost in tears probably on that emotional level. And then I open the door and it's my mom. And dude, I've never felt this energy since, not even having my children. The room went like that. Dude,
yeah.
The connection that took place when we set eyes on each other and then held each other. I wouldn't be surprised if you could have a 3D energy reader if that energy fucking made the room flex.
Yeah.
It was that powerful. Anyway, that's what you get to do when you're on level 4. But so you learn a lot of things in Mexico. You learn how to communicate without having to use your words. You learn how to communicate with energy. You learn how to be accountable for all of your actions. You learned that the only thing in life that mattered are your results, because talking meant nothing. And you can't hide when you're around somebody 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can't just talk your way through it. They want to see that you're leading. They want to see that you're being held accountable. They want to see that you're proactive. They want to see that you're creating results. And your peers are the ones that vote you through the system. So what was I? I was at level 6. And to get to level 6, you got to go through these seminars. And I think it's about 7 seminars. That's what it was. 6 or 7 seminars. I don't remember. And in the seminar, some of the practices that I found to be incredibly uncomfortable and challenging is they just taught you so much crazy shit. So I'm just going to rattle off a few of the ones. So the first one, first of all, if you don't graduate the seminar, then you get kicked out. And you don't get kicked out. They call it you chose out, because you put yourself in a position to not stay in the seminar. So obviously, when the seminars come every 45 days. Well, I show up and then 2 weeks later is the first seminar. So I don't understand this life yet. So I stand up and I go, I don't know why I'm here.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Thanks, Danny. And the facilitator zooms in on me and is like, just starts grilling me. And I start picking up very quickly. Thankfully, my brain started to get it, and I understood that I had misspoke, because if I had chosen out, then I had to sit and wait. I couldn't even go for level 2 for another 45 days. So I got lucky by getting in there and getting to go through the seminar right away. So somehow I managed to talk my way out of it, and I get the spotlight off of me. So, but I go through that seminar, and I remember what they do is they put you in groups, 5 people per group. The lights are turned off, and you go into the deepest, darkest fucking secrets that
Well, how dark? You can't see anything?
enough to navigate.
Okay.
Enough to navigate the room. So what they do is they have everybody sitting around you, and then you're standing, and they tell you, everything's rooted in your parents, a lot of it. And they tell you to start talking about your parents, and you have to talk, and you'll choose out. So if you sit there and go, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
Then the facilitator walks over and goes, you chose out. They kick you right out. You walk out the doors.
And then you wait 45 more days.
You got to wait 45 more days, because then you don't even qualify for level 2. So really what you're doing is every time you choose out of a seminar, you're extending your stay by another 45 days. So, that adds up.
Yeah. 7
fuck ups. You get double your time there.
Get to talking.
Yeah. So you do. You just push, and you just start talking and talking. I remember this when I was this age, and I felt this, and then you start getting into it, and it don't take long. You can, if you're vulnerable and ready to get there, you can get to that deep place very quickly, and then you become extremely emotional. And whatever you become emotional over, that's where they ask you to stop, because that's where the pain's at. And then they just keep asking you and asking you. And so the group just keeps asking you and asking you. And then before you know it, you're a bubbling mess. And then, okay, sit down, next.
Yeah.
And so they had other cool things. So that was the light version. That was called Discovery. Discovery, they figured out. You started to discover why you were fucked up, okay? And then Focus. Focus was the next seminar. Focus was very heavily focused on aligning your vision and understanding your role in the world. And the most powerful experience that I had in that one is you didn't sit, you stood in a huge circle. So there's probably 150 people in there. The other thing is, you got to remember this too, Danny, is I didn't interact with women. The girls were in the girls' facility, guys were on the guys' facility. And so when you go into these seminars, it was co-ed. So you want to talk about getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Not that I was ever sexually abused, thank God, but there was a lot of that. And then you want to talk about learning how to be compassionate for women when we were playboys.
Yeah.
Sit in this circle and listen to the pain that these women go through. That was what fucked me up the hardest, dude. And the next seminars actually, that I would describe is I actually had to step outside. And then when I'm outside, all I hear is the women screaming. And I just know that what they're doing is that they're releasing all that.
Yeah. A lot.
Dude, it was heavy for me. That one was really heavy. It made me have a whole new understanding and respect for women, which is why I became an honest player thereafter. So you're in this circle. And you interact for a day and a half with everybody. You got group exercises that you're doing to team build, and what they're really doing is getting you to understand each other. Okay, then they put you in a big circle, turn the lights off, and you go around and you have to go. You go giver or taker. And you go around to every person. You have to look them in the eye, and you have to give them a giver taker. And then there's a facilitator's helper behind each one, writing down the guy's name and giving them.
Is this based on their stories?
Nope, based on your experience.
Wow.
So if Danny, if you and I were to go take that tree down,
yeah,
you, me, and we'll call 3 does, right? 3 randoms. And then we all stand in a circle at the end of taking that tree down. You know, and I know, we would go giver.
Yeah.
And there's a shot that the other 3 may have signed up for the taker space.
Yeah.
Like, this guy just didn't really help. He wasn't there proactively trying to be a part of it. And that's the giver and taker in life.
Got it.
You know, and you can just feel that. You know that.
No,
you can go to any social setting and be like, that guy's a fucking taker and this guy's a giver. You know, every setting I've ever seen you in, you're a giver. You know that. And there's people out there that are takers, and
I've seen them.
We've seen them.
Yeah.
And so what they're trying to teach you is how you show up in life. And thankfully, I naturally showed up as a giver. So they take all the takers and they put them on a lifeboat, a hypothetical lifeboat.
Okay.
And then Danny, they put them on a hypothetical lifeboat. Now the takers get to figure out who gets to survive. And so they say, go. And it's a social experiment that you just start witnessing. And the givers have a boat. So the takers, of course, are fucking annihilating each other. And the givers are the crystals of the world. Just, I'll give up my ticket.
Yeah.
Go. Okay. Lights turn on. And now we observe how everybody reacted. So the facilitator comes around and goes, you're a fucking idiot for giving up your ticket.
Yeah.
That shows how much you value your life. And all this stuff is to get you to think.
Well, it's flaws on both sides.
Yeah, it's flaws on both sides, right? So the takers got huge amount of feedback from the room that they're showing up in their world as a taker. And I've only known you for a day and a half, and I've called you a fucking taker. So that was a really big experiment that taught me about how I show up in the world. And I think we can both relate on this, is everywhere I go, I want to be a giver. Whether that term is I want to just contribute to society.
Yeah.
Or I could be a taker where I'm quiet, I'm insecure, I'm in the corner, I'm sucking energy from the room instead of giving the room energy. And then you go through the next round, which is the lifeboat exercise. And the takers are over here going, I'm on the boat. Well, then you go and you look at that guy and he goes, you're a fucking selfish piece of shit. You're a taker. Versus our boat is over here going, you're a fucking pussy that doesn't value your own life. What does your mom feel about that when you think that when she's worked so hard, they play all the soft music and now you're in a circle and then you start going through. It's just to get your brain going.
Yeah.
I could go on forever about this stuff, but I got to cut it off eventually. Am I still entertaining you?
No, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to go through the last seminar because I think this is the most important one and where I learned one of the most valuable lessons. It's called accountability. So accountability was simple. It was a day and a half seminar. The other ones were 3 days. And focus, bro, they annihilated you in focus. Discovery was just opening you up.
For focus.
Yeah. And once you went into focus, dude, that was some heavy, 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 deep shit. The deepest exercise in that class, actually, I'll go to that one really quick, it was back in, I think I described this one to you. It was back in the day when CD cases were how CDs were delivered and everybody listened to CDs. So they would say, okay, they'd lay you on the ground playing slow music. They'd start to work you into that state of mind where it's like, hey, this is you. That time that dad didn't show up. And, you start taking the vocals and applying it to your fucked up scenario. So you don't even need it to be necessarily perfect. You just start taking it, and you know where you're headed with this.
Yeah.
Okay, what we need you to do is we need you to take that first self-limiting belief, that one deep moment that you remember when you were a kid and dad didn't show up or dad wasn't there, and it's this really deep talking like this, and it's like, and then you just, they're digging into your subconscious, and we need you to put that inside of that CD case, okay? Boom, put it inside, now close the CD case. Okay, now grab that second fucking moment where you're like, you know, that time when that girl told you that you were ugly and you were unattractive and that you weren't worthy and you weren't this. Put that inside that next case. And then take the next one, and then take, you know, you build the case up, and they do about 8 of them. And then and then they're like, and now we put a towel next to you, and the towel is tied with a knot. And what we want you to do on the count of 3 is I want you to grab that towel, and I want you to beat these cases to smithereens. And then they go.
And the kids go crazy.
I went crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, I lost all the skin on my fingers. I was down to the bone, like bone. Like I saw like tendon and bone.
God dang.
And you're just beating the ground, and the room erupts with, because it's 130 kids slamming the ground, screaming and yelling. And you're just processing all this anger out of your body.
Yeah.
And that's focus.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, the sound alone must be like, we are all.
That was the one where I had to leave. Because at the end of, I'm sorry, while I was in it, I went through the exercise completely. When I helped facilitate that seminar and was not involved in the exercise, and I was listening, I was more listening because I was going around to the different pods and listening. That's when I was hearing all the pain from these girls. And then when they sat down, I heard all the screaming. I was like, I can't do it. And I think the girl thing was actually very sensitive to me beyond just women. I was raised by my mom and my sister, and I inflicted the same level of pain on them. So just hearing a woman scream from pain was
many women.
Was real strong. I had to go outside and listen.
It might be off topic, but the reason I tell people EDC is an amazing experience is because you have thousands of people all happy and all positive, and you feel it. So I can imagine in that room, all that pain, all that like amplified by 150 times, like.
You understand the exchange of energies that's on a positive level. So you can understand it on the other side.
And like, that's intense. Like I would probably have to leave the room too. Like,
it was intense.
That is.
So, so while you're there, you facilitate a seminar every month as you grow up in the system after upper levels. So you're getting to watch it and relearn it again. So you go through them, and then when you're upper levels, you help facilitate them. So you're really hammering home all the lessons. But the last one is this. It's called accountability. And in order to get to level 4, you're already on level 3. You have to be on level 3 in time for when the seminar shows up. So if your voting session's after the seminar, you wait another month.
Yeah.
So you have to be on level 3, and you have to go through accountability to be able to get voted up to level 4. And level 4, you get shoes back. You can walk around the facility without being in a family. You got freedom. And freedom, bro, is the most precious thing on the planet, dude. Yeah, you lose that freedom, you realize how valuable it is. So accountability, very simple. You go in there. They go, what? They take a table and a chair, and they stick the chair on top of the table. I don't even know how they actually did this, but they did it. And it's one person standing here, and the whole seminar down the sides. So person. Okay. And they go, what are your results? You don't even know what you're walking into. You walk in, you see a table and a chair, and they tell the whole facility line up on the right and left of you, and they go, you go first. Thank God I didn't have to go first. I think I was like 10th. The other problem is I didn't even get to go last. So I could have had even more. I don't know. I think the universe set me up in the perfect spot. Okay. They go, what are your results? And before this all happens, they go, here are what a result means. A result is a tangible thing that you can say, I did this. A result is not, I woke up and felt good.
Very vague.
Very vague. A result was, I passed 3 grades. I got an A on these last 3 tests. I'm now in Spanish 2 instead of 1. I helped Johnny break through his daddy issue, and now he is on level 2 because of it. That is a result. So they explained what results were very quickly, and then said, you're up, go. And then boom, you're out. Just that fast. If you stumbled up, if you stood up there and you got nervous, they're like, this kid's not confident enough yet.
No, he's not ready.
He's not ready. Next, out. Now the whole audience is like, oh fuck, even more pressure. So now you get up there and start next, out. And the next guy gets up there. And I just got up there, and the universe blessed me with the ability to communicate. Oh, okay. So the facilitator can go out. If the facilitator doesn't have an opinion, then the audience votes on you. So out or in, out, and there was none of this. They called it armpits. You didn't get to do this. If you didn't vote, then you weren't participating. Now you're out. Jeez. So it was armpits, out, in, and the majority kept you in, and then that was it. That was accountability.
Did you
like 8 people would graduate accountability each time?
Is that when you left?
No, that's what allowed me to go to level 4.
Got it.
And then level 4, and then the cool thing was my leadership and my ability to lead allowed me to be put in a position where I became the trainer, which means that there was only 2 people above me, and that was Jason and Jade, and I was in charge of the entire facility.
How do you
350 kids. You graduate.
Did they keep you there longer because you were an asset to helping them?
No, nah, it didn't work.
Like, do you want to let them go? Let's keep them for another month.
No, they didn't give a shit, man. There was enough people coming through the system. I was there for 16 months, and you just had to keep getting voted all the way to, I think, when I became trainer, it was just a matter of when the next seminar came through, because the back half of the seminars were more about fixing your relationship with your parents, because you were still a kid and had to go home and live with them again. So you had to understand and respect their boundaries. They taught me about like making requests, as dumb as that sounds, and then receiving. Your request has been received. This is what I've heard. Is this what is that accurate to what you said? You know, a lot of that communication stuff is where I learned on that back half. And then I think it was called PS1 and PS2, parent, student, 1, 2, and 3, and then he went home.
Well, what was the day that I assume you didn't know you were going to go home.
No, I did. You know when. Yeah. And because you start doing transitions, like as the trainer, what was super awesome is there was this like book that got handed down to trainer that was actually very top secret. I don't even know if the admin knew about it, which if they did find out about it, the fact that it wasn't bad, but
level
the fact
0.
that it was, the fact that it was secret is what made it cool, but nothing in it was bad. It was just really genuine messages. Of the previous reign. Anyway, so you start doing those, and it was like the secret moment that you handed it off, and I got to hand it off, and so you just start going home. I'll tell you what my day going home looked like. There was 2 things that were incredibly powerful, and this last seminar was in San Diego. You went to it with your mom. It was a 3-day seminar. On day 3, you left with your mom, unless you chose out, which I didn't. But the day I left the facility is I woke up. I looked in the mirror. I went down to the bathroom. I was up before everybody, before the whole facility, which was typical because I was the trainer, so I kind of had to be ahead of the game. And I go in the bathroom, and I couldn't even believe it. I couldn't even process that I was leaving, because I was like, I remember sitting here going, how am I ever going to get out of here? Same bathroom, same glass, same mirror, same faucet, same sink. And I remember thinking like, you fucking did it.
Yeah, that's accomplishment.
Yeah. I was like,
finally
did it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, how did I do it? I was like, I got sent in here, and it's like somebody took you've probably heard me make this analogy, but this is the moment that I developed this analogy, is somebody took all of my clothes off, put a 100-foot glass wall in front of me, sprayed the glass down with lube and water, and said, you get to go home when you crawl over this, and left. Like, where do you even start?
No, it's impossible.
It was impossible.
Yeah.
Well, that's the feeling that I had on the day that I got there. And then I'm looking in the mirror going, I can't even say anything else. I remember just saying to myself, I fucking did it.
No, I'm going home.
I'm going home, dude. I'm going home. I did it. I can't believe I did it. And then the last thing is because I didn't fuck around, dude. Like, I understood how to stay focused on the end game, which is what has served me so well today in my life. I don't fuck around. If I know what the end game is, that's the goal, and I'm getting there, and whoever the fuck is in my way is going to get bulldozed. So, for example, there were kids that were on the upper levels that would pull shady shit, steal extra pizza, sleep in their beds during the time that they weren't allowed to sleep. And then to look at a kid or look at an equal peer and go, I am your superior. And by dropping this sentence on you, I know it's adding 4 to 6 months to your journey, was a very heavy thing to do. I didn't give a fuck.
It's you or me.
It was, because if I got caught hiding for you, then I got the same penalty. That was how that worked.
But in the end, that's fucked up.
What?
If they're stealing extra pizza, there should be some honor.
Right. And being there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And so what I was getting at with saying that was you didn't fuck around me. You just didn't. And everybody knew that. And it was because, dude, I worked too hard to get here. Because that was just the rule of thumb in the program. If you got caught stealing pizza and I watched you steal pizza, I got the same discipline. So it was like, do not fuck around me, period. Which is why I became trainer, which is why I became the leader and all these other things. So they knew that I was pure. And I was pure because I wanted to go the fuck home.
Yeah.
I was done, dude. I didn't want to be in Mexico anymore. So the last day, this kid sneaks a letter into my pocket, which was very illegal. You could not pass notes. Everything, like passing notes was like committing a murder. And I didn't know what happened until I'm on the bus leaving and I reach into some pocket. I don't even know which one it was. I reach into some pocket and I pull it out. And it was from my buddy Dustin, great guy. We used to sit on the balcony and talk about what we were going to do when we got home and this and that. And he goes, I know that this was wrong, but I thought it was really important to tell you this. I'm making up half of this, trying to go off of what I remember. But the part that I remembered was, if they're not talking shit about you, you're not doing enough. And what he was saying was, because I was hated by a lot of the school, and he was always there as my ride or die, very similar to you.
Yeah.
You understand me. You understand that the goal is we're getting to the goal. And so there's a lot of people in the city that still don't like me to this day, that don't like me. Well, the reason they don't like me, it doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. As long as I have my Danny, which is how funny his name was, Dustin.
Yeah.
Then I can stay confident and keep pushing through. And so that was what he wanted. That was the last message he wanted to give me. If they're not talking bad about you, you're not doing enough. And those are the two memorable moments of that last day in Mexico.
Well, what happened when you got back? We'll end this soon, but like your first day in Vegas, like I don't think I've ever asked you, like you got in your room and you lay your bag down, you're like.
It was frightening. Fresh air, fresh visuals, lemon water, ice water, bread that was soft. I've got somewhere I'm going with this. You'll catch on in a second. Soft flooring, fresh socks, cold bed when it's warm in the room. Those were luxuries that were so extreme, Danny. It was euphoric. It was orgasmic. And I didn't describe anything very special there.
No.
And my point is that when you go from such a lockdown facility with such a limited amount of stuff and enjoyments of life, and then go into the real world, it'll fuck you up, bro. Like looking at a girl, like when I was walking to the airport, bro, I remember thinking, dude, I was a mess. I'm not even kidding. Because you go from like chicks that can't shave and can't do their hair, makeup's a fucking thing of the past, and they're wearing a uniform, to walking through the McCarran airport where like girls have fake tits and fake lip. Bro, I was like, my brain was, I couldn't even process. I had stimulation overload everywhere that I looked. So when you say what actually did the first 2 days look like, it was stimulation overload. Like I was almost like, hey, I just want to sit in my room and read a book. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think I just did. I sat in the room and read a book because that was a safe space. I had to learn to adapt to driving up the road and seeing a dog. I hadn't seen a dog in fucking, 16 months. Yeah. I hadn't, or that's a new car. I hadn't seen a new body car or something, a golf course that was green, or my mom going, hey, do you want a Gatorade? I had a Gatorade, dude. I'd red juice for 16 months or water.
So did you stay out of trouble though? Because I mean, you were all focused.
No, that was the problem. I came back. I was doing really well initially. So what happened is I just had too much time, and that I was a victim of my own success. I was doing so well in school. I was so ahead in school because of all this, of all of the school I was able to make up in Mexico, that when I came back, my schedule at public school was like 7 a.m. to 10:45, and I was like teacher's pet, or helper or something like that. And they were all extracurricular type classes. None of them were core classes. And then I would get out of school and I'd have nothing to do between 11 a.m. and whatever time football practice started, which was probably like 4 o'clock or whatever it was. The idle mind is the devil's playground. And that's what ended up happening, is I had too much time on my hands, and with too much time and not enough purpose.
Well, what'd you do exactly?
Fucking stealing the test results and selling them to the entire senior class.
Did you get away with it?
No, we didn't. I definitely didn't get away with it. It was a wild story.
Back to square one.
Yes, arguably, literally starting back over.
All right. That's our time for today. We can pick this up next podcast.
Yeah, listen to the next episode. It's a great story. Stay tuned.
All right.
Hey guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you guys want to learn more about the tools, tips, and tricks that I use on a daily basis to maintain my success, stay connected with me through all of my socials at IAmJoshGalindo.